All right, all right. Bear with me a moment. I just want to see if the volume is working. Just give me. All right, let me test this real quick. Just give me a moment. Okay, it should be working smoothly. Of course, first and foremost, I'm gonna open up with saying Shalom. Of course, want to give all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Yahweh who the world ignorantly calls God, and Yahweh Shai who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And I haven't been able to do one of these for a while now. For certain reasons. You know what I'm saying? I have to I got a lot to factor in, you know what I'm saying? I got a lot of factors that factor into, when I'm able to do these, how long I'm able to do them. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole bunch of, obstacles and, and shit and misfortunes I got to hop through, right? Or in other terms, there's a bunch of hurdles in my way that I got to jump through, in order to do a simple live stream for an hour or two. Like, I'll give you an example. Earlier today, man, we were at the bank and we rolled down the window, which I was planning to use that, that car to do a stream in tonight, right? Because I'd rather be in that one. But anyway, what happened was, the window caved in on itself, right? Like it popped out of its frame somehow, right? So we didn't notice, so we start, to bring the window up, right? We're trying to bring it up because apparently, the last time it got brought down, it popped out of frame when it was, down inside the door, right? So we're rolling the window up and we happen to look over and the damn window's coming up sideways, right? Like it's, a sharp edge, that's going up instead of the window. Hard to explain if you didn't see it for yourself, right? So it's like, damn, the window popped out of frame, so gotta, put a damn trash bag over the window, so no thieves break through the window and steal nothing in the car or steal the car itself. Had to damn buy a roll of tape to try to, keep the window up, for when because it's gonna snow tomorrow, you know what I'm saying? So as I said, little things like that, are big hurdles that are in the way, that could hinder the possibility of me, doing a stream. You know what I'm saying? As I said, it's like, damn, I wish I was fortunate enough, like these dudes, I can sit on their ass all day, and do streams or join streams from the comfort of their own home, right? From the comfort of their own, bedroom or couch, but I can't do that. I'm not fortunate enough where I'm able to do that, given my circumstances. And am I complaining? Well, I'm just doing what I call keeping it real, right? Or keeping it 100, right? ETT. Hey, look, out of all these other cats on YouTube, I'm the one that's keeping it real, right? I'm keeping it 100. I'm keeping it real, right? I just say it how it is. I'm not going to add any twist onto it. If somebody don't like something I'm saying, hey, well, as me and Mina Shrek joked around about, hey, look, if somebody listens to what we're saying and you don't agree, hey, look, you can unsubscribe from us. We don't care. Hey, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. That's all we gotta say. Hey, look, if you don't want to, be part of ETT's roundtable, then that's all cool. You can, unsubscribe. You can, go watch Primal Man or, the Preacher or, ISUPK videos or, Creflo Dollar, right? TD Snakes, right? TD Jakes. You can go watch them. I don't care. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. That's just the way you got to say, man. And that's just keeping it real. That's keeping it 100. Like, I'll give you an example, man. Because as I said, I've been around the block for a number of years, right? I know a vast majority of these, of these YouTubers out here, right? These people that call themselves, truthers on YouTube. talking about the nonsense they talk about. But some of it's true, right? Some of it's true, but then other parts are nonsense. Like I'll give you an example. I was listening to this dude, what's this guy, Jake the A-hole? You can look him up. I was listening to this dude, Jake, and I've been following this guy for years. I've watched some of his stuff like I want to say at least 6 years ago. Like 6 years ago, I used to watch some of his stuff. So I saw he was live yesterday. So I was watching the whole stream. It was a good stream. He was right on most of what he said, but then he goes off, starts talking about like, oh, there were no dinosaurs, right? That's all made up to deceive people. And it's like, no, that's not true. That's just a wacky conspiracy that these guys came up with. Of course there were, dinosaurs that walked the earth in some point in time. There's plenty of evidence to support that there was. These dudes, they're looking at it with like I guess I could say a half-assed perspective for lack of better words, right? Or they're not being honest when they, do these, quote unquote debunking or exposing videos, right? They're just cherry picking, a couple information that backs up their viewpoint and what they're trying to tell the people. But then, the parts that refute their claims, that part gets rejected and it doesn't make it into the video, of course. So then that gets us into the situation we're at now, where a dude will upload a video saying that satellites are fake. And then 50,000 people will watch that, and then they'll go around and, repeat, oh, well, there's no satellites, right? Satellites are all fake. It's like, well, how do you know? Because they watch, a 10, 15-minute YouTube video where the guy in the video explaining it just cherry picked, a couple information to try to, prove a point. Right? So you got guys going around out there, man, trying to, tell the people that satellites don't exist, which is clearly just ridiculous and is not true. Now, why I'll say this, why it is true that if you Google, a picture of a satellite, those pictures you get on Google, those are all fake, right? Those are all CGI images, right? Those satellites on there, those are all fake. But with that being said, they do have real satellites that are, orbiting above the Earth. They're just hoisted into the air on high altitude weather balloons, right? They're not, floating out, 50,000 of them floating around, 17,000 miles an hour or whatever the, speed is of these things, around the Earth, right? There's none of those things out there, in these large numbers floating around, the globe Earth. That part's a lie. But there are certain satellites they have that are in the air. They're hoisted into the atmosphere on high altitude weather balloons. And one crashed in Brazil like what 4 years ago or something. You can look it up. You can find a video, right? There was a satellite that had a popped weather balloon attached to it that crash landed over in Brazil. So yeah, the satellites are real, right? They're just not, what you see if you look up on Google, right? They're slightly different than that. But yeah, of course these things are real. Same thing with dinosaurs. Dinosaurs were real. They did walk the earth at some point in time. They just lied about what time period that they lived. Like I'll give you an example. There was this one dude, which I got to do a video about this, so I'm not going to get off onto this right now. But I might say a few words about it. There was this dude, I believe this cat's name was Micktoon, right? We'll call him Looney Tunes. We'll call this guy Looney Tunes, right? Because this guy is loony in the head. But this dude, right, Mick Looney, right, Mick Loon, this dumbass in the comment board, was on there talking about because he saw a video that I put up on Jay's channel, right, Sacramento Truth Movement. I put up a video, proving dinosaurs in the Bible and in recent history, right? So you had this one dude, right, this Looney Tune, who commented on the video and left like 25 different comments saying, "Oh, all dinosaurs are fake, right? You guys just want to believe in dinosaurs because they sound cool, right? Because they sound cool, so you guys are just saying that they're real." It's like, No, it's like, don't you think we actually looked into what we're saying? Like, say for an example, obviously I watched a video that I put up because I uploaded it. Therefore, why did I upload it? Because I thought it was a good video explaining whatever the topic was. It's like, duh. Now, with that being said, if you're gonna come on here, and try to, claim that all the dinosaurs are fake and whatever, it's like, hey, look, if that's what you want to believe, hey, look, Looney Tune, if that's what you want to believe, then you can believe that. If you want to believe that you're on a ball spinning throughout an endless galaxy, you can believe that as well. Now, if you want to believe that, the Edomites are black or that Jesus is white, if you want to believe that, you can believe that. I don't believe that. Why? Because that's not what the evidence supports. But if that's what you believe, then you believe it. Then got plenty of individuals on YouTube going around teaching, but nothing but a bunch of bullshit, right? A bunch of nonsense is what these guys are going around on the internet teaching, man. Got guys saying, that like these dudes Perry, right, and his sidekick, appointed Apostle Tim. No, these guys are on there, and they'll be like, oh, we'll stay away from these guys like end time teacher and these fake Hebrew Israelites as they call us, and even some of these other people on the comment board like that simp Melvin, right? Melvin, which he's just a Christian, right? He's just a chocolate covered Edomite, is what Apostle the Horrible called Melvin, right? He's not deep at all. That cat's about as deep as a shot glass, right? He's shot glass deep. And how do I know that? Because somebody will say, oh, you guys just can't, make up these statements about people you don't know nothing about. It's like, well, I know Melvin. Right? We might not know each other in real life, but we've had, chats before by way of, StreamYard or, commented back and forth on, the comment boards, right? So we've had multiple conversations before, so just like as me and Mina Shareg joked around about, it's like, it's very easy to, tell what type of level a person is on with their understanding and their belief, primarily about the scriptures, because that's what we focus on, first and foremost. But really, all you have to do is have like, a 2 or 3 minute conversation with a person. You can find out, what type of level that they're on. Vast majority of people you'll find out, just asking them a couple of questions like, well, what is the earth that we walk on? Right? How far is the sun? Do you know what color is Jesus? Or, where is hell at? Right? Just asking, certain questions like that, it's enough to stump an average person. Because a lot of those things, even though they might have beliefs regarding all of those subjects, they really haven't given it, much time to think about, any of those. A lot of these people, believe that they're on a rock spinning throughout, an endless universe. Why do they believe that? Well, that's what their public education, told them. So it'll be like, there's no way that, the government deceived me, wait, because I'm a very educated person, right? I, got my um, all these degrees, right? I've been through high school, been through, college is what they'd say, right? So, I've got all these degrees. So there's no way I could be deceived. There's no way that the authorities could deceive me, right? People don't want to know that they've been lied to. Right? It's easier, as the saying goes, right? It's easier to lie to somebody than it is to convince somebody that they've been lied to, right? It's easier to deceive a person than it is to convince them that they have been deceived. That's sad but true. That's a true statement. It's more easier to deceive a person than it is to convince that person that they have been deceived. And that's a true statement right there. But going back to Looney Tunes, right? Going back to Mick Looney or whatever that coon's name was on the comment board. This dude said a whole bunch of whack. So I'm gonna save that for a separate video on its own. But I just have to comment on a few points. He was like, oh well, dinosaurs were all made up to push the evolution idea, is what he's on there saying. No, it's like, well, you guys must believe in, the millions of years old Earth then if you believe that there were dinosaurs because they died 65 million years ago. So that don't line up with the Bible, and he's saying that as if he has like some type of like deep point to make, right? But then I respond and I'm like, it's like, okay, well, for one, just because I say that dinosaurs exist, were living on Earth at some point, that doesn't mean I'm saying they lived, millions of years ago and died 65 million years ago. That part, what you were told in the public education system, that part is not true. So they lied about the time period which these creatures lived and the time period when they died. That part was a lie, but that doesn't mean the creatures themselves never existed. That doesn't mean that. Just like I'll give a very reasonable and very easy to understand example. Just like how in the public education system, we were all told that the sun is 93 million miles away from the earth. Now we know that's not true. So guess what? Just because the public education system has lied to you about the distance of the sun from the earth, that does not mean that the sun is fake. Obviously, we can all agree on that. So if we can agree on that, right? Me and Mick Looney Tunes can believe and agree on that one statement. So how is it so far-fetched for me to make a statement and say that, yeah, the dinosaurs did live? The government just lied about the time period that they lived on the earth and how they got wiped out. So it's like, if he can grasp the concept that, yeah, obviously the sun is real, we all can see it in the sky, even though the public education system lied about its distance from, the sun to the earth, even though they lied about that, right? We obviously see that the sun is real. It's like, okay, yeah, we agree on that. Right? The education system made up a lie about it. Obviously, the sun is real. It exists, even though they lied about some information they said about it. So again, with the dinosaurs, they did exist. They just didn't, die off 65 million years ago. So again, his first initial, hard hitting point, which is clearly, it's like a damn sponge is what it is, right? It's not hard at all, right? He thought that was like some type of like hard brick that he was throwing at our, and I'm speaking in like a metaphoric language here, right? He thought that was some type of like hard brick that he was throwing at us, but really that was just like a soft sponge, right? It's not deep at all, right? This dude, Looney Tunes, this guy is what you call shock glass deep. There ain't nothing deep about this coon. And he made some very erroneous and very illogical statements, but I'm going to save those for a whole other video, in and of itself. Bear with me a second. Man, so it's just it's crazy what's going on, man. It's just it's mind-boggling, so here it is, we're in 2023, and you still have people going around talking about that you still got idiots going around trying to convince people that they're living in the kingdom of heaven. That then you have this other dumbass, the preacher, going around trying to evangelize with people in public, paying them money and giving them a shirt that has the Pornhub logo with the word Bible in it. Like I'm not even making a joke about that. I'm being dead serious. He literally sells on his website, look it up, on Perry the Preacher's website. He sells shirts on there that have the Pornhub logo and the word Bible in it. I'm not even joking around. Look it up. And that's what he'll give you, right? If you do a Bible study with him. And I know this is true because my buddy Jay, right, Sacramento Truth Movement, he did this with Perry like, a year ago, when we first encountered this individual. He invited Jay on to have like an hour Bible study with him. And what was he trying to tell him? Basically was trying to give him the rundown, so to speak, that, hey, look, just believe that Jesus died for you upon the cross. And once you accept that, it's impossible for you to sin. Just believe that Jesus paid for it all. And then once you say those words, now you can live any type of lifestyle that you want, right? Once these guys are saying, once you make those statements, right? Once those words come out of your mouth, right? That I believe that Jesus died for me, that he paid for it all, Once you say that, and again, I'm speaking from the preacher, obviously, once you say that, now that means you can do whatever you want. You can steal from other people, you can commit adultery, because all of those things are not sin for you anymore. That's the madness. That's the illogical foolishness that these people are on here teaching on the internet and trying to evangelize with people on the streets. Ridiculous. But anyway, going back to Jay, so it's trying to convince him of that message there, which I just said. Then when the conversation's over, he'll send you what he said, right? He'll send you a free Bible. He'll send you a free T-shirt with the Pornhub Bible logo on it, and then he'll send you some cash as well, right, to your Cash App with it. I mean, it should at least I'll give him this. At least he's honest with his statement. I'll say that about him. Out of all the nonsense he's teaching, the one thing I can give him credit on is at least he's a man of his word. If he says he's going to do something, he will do it. So that's one thing I'll say about him. At least he's a man of his word. But if he says he'll give you money and he do what he said, he'll give you money. If he says he'll send you a free shirt and a free Bible, then he'll send you a free shirt and a free Bible. So I got to give him credit on that. At least he's a man of his words, right? Even though he's teaching a bunch of nonsense, at least he has that going for him. You know what I'm saying? Unlike some of these other individuals on YouTube. Bear for a second. Oh, and then another thing I wanted to comment on, man. And I'm always tired of seeing some of these simps in the comment board. Like as I said earlier, I was listening to Jake the A-hole's live stream the other day. 2-hour live stream. Overall was a very good stream, other than a couple points it went off on. But I was listening, to the stream, and I was paying attention to the comment section, the live chat conversation that was going by. And it's just ridiculous some of the nonsense that these people are on there talking about, man. On there talking about, oh, well, don't be deceived, everybody, because, Satan is gonna make a false alien invasion to deceive all the world. It's like, well, where'd you get that from? They got it from YouTube. Just like this dude, what's this guy that goes on Joe Rogan's podcast? What's this dude? Eddie Bravo, right? Eddie Bravo, look him up. As he said to Joe Rogan that one time, right, when they talk about the flat earth, Eddie Bravo was like, I did my research on YouTube, right? I did my research on YouTube, and that's what most of these people on the internet are doing, man. Which, don't get me wrong, right? Don't get me wrong. You can get some very good information, from YouTube. I mean, shit, I've learned more from YouTube than I did from my few years that I went to school. And that's damn well true. I've learned more about science. I learned more about history. Definitely more about the scriptures, right? So that statement is true. You can get a lot of very good information by way of the internet, specifically speaking of YouTube. But with that being said, you know, with that statement being said, you shouldn't just watch like one video and then believe an entire conspiracy because some dude, just cherry pick some information and is now claiming something. Like, I'll give you an example, right? Like these guys claiming that, oh shit, what's a good example? Oh, like this whole Tartaria thing, right? This whole Tartaria thing, which I haven't done an extreme amount of research on this. I just know a little bit of information about this. But hey, look, with that being said, I like to take rich dad's advice on it, right? Anybody that's read, what is this book? Right, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Look it up, very good book. Or I should say series of books, because it got like, what, 8 books? I read probably 5 of them, something like that. Very good series dealing with, personal finance and whatever. But a good statement from the book that I like to, incorporate into my life is what Rich Dad had to say. Rich Dad said, um, know a little bit about a lot, right? Know a little about a lot, right? Know a little bit of information about a lot of different subject matters. And that's the standpoint I like to have, right? Know a little bit of information about a vast, sea of subjects. That's just a good way, to have your mind around it because somebody can be very research on one or two subjects, but can be a damn buffoon when it comes to any other subject. And that's what some of these dudes are on YouTube. Very studied on one or two subjects, but then when you bring up other subjects that are not those two, then you find out that they're, not as sharp as they claim to be. Hey, what's up? GTF. Hey, welcome to the show. He said, I read some of those books too. Yeah, yeah, man. They're very good books. And get this as well, back in school, I wasn't a person that liked to read. I mean, shit, I still don't like to read. With that being said, though, I do read, right? Even though I would prefer not to read. With that being said, it's very important to have reading skills. So I've taught myself, to read. So I would say I read like at least like 20 thick books, right? I've read like 20 thick books, and that's an accomplishment there, because I'm only 20 years old, so there's not a whole lot of people that can go around and say that they've read, 20 thick books, including the Holy Bible a handful of times. First time I read the entire Bible when I was 16, and then I read the entire Bible again when I was 18. And then, of course, that doesn't account for the multiple times I read the Old Testament by itself, the multiple times I read the Apocrypha by itself, the multiple times I read the New Testament on its own. Right? Not a whole lot of people, can make that statement, that they've read, a whole bunch of these, thick books. And hey, look, I don't say that to flex. I'm just saying, that I, used as the example is I, don't like reading. I've never liked reading. But with that being said, I've had to accept that that is, really how you learn, right? Is you gotta, read. You gotta get that hands-on experience by reading these books. Like say for an example, it's good to listen to, a reading of a book. Some people put these, what are they, audio books on YouTube. Those are good to listen to. I've listened to a handful of them. But then it's more, what's the word I'm looking for? I should say it's better, right? It's better to, sit down and actually read the book itself. Which a lot of people don't like to do, like this dude, Ridge, right? Ridge Napper. Which I like Ridge, right? Ridge is cool. We've been friends for like 7 years. But I get on him sometimes. It's like, he'll tell you anything you want to know about, US history or here, bear with me a second. Yeah, he'll tell you anything you want to know about, U.S. history or, the Vatican popes. He can tell you a whole bunch of that information. And I'll admit, I don't know, as much as he knows when it comes to those subjects. He's very well studied on those subject matters. I'll give him credit. But the thing that gets me is he says that he owns 100 books on his bookshelf, right? He has a collection of Bibles, a collection of, any type of book that you can name on his bookshelf, over 100 of them, he said, and he doesn't read. He literally says he had never read one of them. And as far as the scriptures go, he says he's only read one book out of the Bible, and that's because I, got on him about it. It's like, damn, man, you should at least, have read one. I mean, it's like, damn, even a 5-year-old, in some type of like, Christian school program has read, the simplest of the books, like Jonah or something, so he went through and read Jonah. But it's like, damn, that book's only what, like 4 chapters long, 4 or 5 chapters long, something like that. Literally read the whole thing in like 10 minutes. It's like, damn, man, I don't know what his issue is. It's like, why the hell you collect books if you never read them? But hey, that's his thing, so I can't, hey, that I can't get on him for it. That's his personal, situation. I can just give advice. Let me see. Yeah, yeah, that hey, that could be true, man. That could be true. Hey, but even if that was true, you know, even if that's true, it's still good information, right? Still good information that his book gets. Oh, and as far as you spoke about exploiting countries for minerals. Yeah, I was just listening yesterday. I took like maybe 45 minutes, and I was listening to a couple of the podcasts that Joe Rogan did. Right, they did one about these these minerals and about the candy, right, about the chocolate, companies and how they're working people to death in slave labor in order to harvest together these minerals or products that they need in order to put together to make their company's project. What's the word I'm looking for? Products, excuse me. Yes, so shit. There's still slavery going on right now, right? Our phones were made from some substances that people had to labor away in slavery, to mine out of the earth in order for these, large corporations to manufacture into a device that we use, which I'm using right now and that you're listening to me on right now. So there's still slavery going on in the world today. I mean, shit, we're all in slavery, right? It might not be as extreme as those people in the coal mines right now, right? It might not be as extreme, for you and me, like it is for those people there, but we're still all in slavery. It's slavery working for $8 an hour, $10 an hour, $15 an hour. That's what you call slavery. So we're all in slavery right now. Nobody is truly free. Nobody is truly free. If you believe, I mean, shit, just like the American dream. Some people think they're living the American dream. It's like shit. Well, hey, you might be living the American dream, because in order to live a dream, you have to be asleep, right? In order to live a dream, you have to be asleep in order to live it. Yes, all these people are what you call spiritually dead, right? These people are asleep. They're walking zombies, or as I call them, zombies. Now, that's the vast majority of these simps out here, especially over here in Babylon the Great. But the influence of America, has been spread throughout the entire world. That's why when you go over to some of these foreign countries, they model their society and their customs after the United States. That's why I brought up a few days ago in one of my videos about, how even in Saudi Arabia, at one point in time, women were not allowed to operate vehicles over there. But now, say what, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, now in Saudi Arabia, women are allowed to operate machinery and drive vehicles. Why? Because they were pressured from the modernized society, specifically the United States, to lift these bans that they have on women. Right? So that's just a example of how the scriptures say, what is that? One of my personal favorite scriptures, the proof who Babylon is. Right? Revelation chapter 17, verse 18. Right? It says the woman that you see, who's the woman? Just read up in the chapter, right? You saw a woman, that was decked, or she was decked out, right, looking all pretty. But the woman that he saw actually represented America. And you can read the whole chapter. Should be familiar with it at this point. But you always got new people listening in. But going back to the verse I quoted, right, the woman that he saw, he said it is the great city. The woman represents the great city that has dominion over the kings of the earth, and that's America. That's the United States. And anybody on YouTube saying something different than that, they should be avoided because they're teaching something that is clearly ridiculous and preposterous. And I would say, me and Minor Shrek were talking about this one time, and I agree with him. The saying that Babylon is anything other than the United States, I mean, that could cost you salvation right there. Because that's a serious thing right there. If you're going around saying that it's Jerusalem or, uh, anywhere else other than America, I mean, that's something big right there. That could cost you your salvation. for teaching people something false. And then Christ even gave a warning right in the last page of the Bible, Revelation 22, verse 18, verse 19, right? Anybody that adds to these things, God will add to him the plagues that are written in this book. And if any man takes away from the prophecies, God will take his name out of the book of life, right? And out of the holy city. So that's a serious thing right there, man. You're taking a massive chunk out of the Bible if take America, being that great, um, Babylon. If you're saying that that's not true, then you're taking a massive chunk out of the Bible. Another example, you have people going around on YouTube teaching that Jesus was a false Messiah, right? They teach that who people call Jesus, we refer to him as Yahushai. But people say that he was a false Christ and that the New Testament was fake in order to, deceive the minds of the people is what they're saying, right? Which is clearly not true. The Bible is complete, right? Old Testament, Apocrypha, New Testament. That's the complete Bible there. Old Testament, Apocrypha, New Testament. And anybody that takes one of those out, or they're reading the Bible incorrectly. You can't fully understand the Bible if you just read the Old Testament and reject the New Testament. You're not going to be able to truly understand the Bible. And vice versa. If you just take, say for an example, people just go by the New Testament. And then they say, just like these Christian churches, right? They'll tell you that, oh, well, Old Testament, that's not important today. That's all just history. There's nothing in there that we have to live by today, which is clearly absolutely ridiculous to make that statement. Because Christ clearly taught that we have to, as believers on him, that we have to keep the laws that God gave to the Israelites in the Old Testament. Clearly, that's taught in the New Testament. So as I said, man, some dudes, just deceive themselves, right? They got themselves into what you call a trick bag. But really, the truth is, those of us in the know, right? Those of us who truly know what's going on, we truly do understand that who's the one who has these people deceived? Who's the one who has these people in a deluded state of mind? Well, it's God who does it, right? God did it. Now, if you're going around, teaching that Jesus, who people call Jesus, right, that he was a false Messiah, hey, well, God deceived you to believe that. If you're going around teaching people that we don't have to keep God's law, hey, well, God deceived you to believe that. If you're going around teaching people that, Babylon is the Vatican, hey, well, God deceived you to believe that. Right, Job, what is that? Job 12:16. With him is strength and wisdom. The deceived and the deceiver are his. And then there's this other dude I was listening to on YouTube. I put this on just so I could have a good laugh because I, debated a few people in the past on this subject. But I just wanted to, listen to something while I ate my Chinese food. So I want to just listen to something and, kick back, relax, and have, a few chuckles. And what was the thing that I'm talking about? I'm talking about, I went on YouTube and looked up a term called, you know, Old Testament God is Satan, right? Or Satan is the God of the Old Testament. And what it is, it's these a whole bunch of videos that come up where you have all these different people trying to, put together a lesson on, why the Old Testament God is actually Satan, right? They believe that Jesus is the true God of the Bible. But then in the Old Testament, where we see, God doing this, God doing that, that's actually Satan who's doing that. Right. So the God in the Old Testament, that's Satan, but the God in the New Testament, Jesus, that's the true God. And that's the whole doctrine in a nutshell. So all they do is try to pull up, certain examples in the Old Testament where we see, God, taking the lives of, say, for an example, um, the Exodus story, right? The Exodus story where, God came through and he took the lives of all the firstborn sons in the land of Egypt, right? So they'll use that and say, oh, we'll see, well, Jesus doesn't kill. So this God in the Old Testament, that's Satan who did that, right? Satan was the one who took the lives of all of these, firstborn sons. And that was Satan who did that. Or then even, to go so far as to say that the global flood, or I should say worldwide flood, because there's no such thing as global. That's a different topic. Right? The worldwide flood, that took place. They'll be on there and will tell you that well, that was Satan who did that. Right? Satan was the one who caused the worldwide flood. So that was Satan who did that. And then let me even tell you this. I was having a conversation this one time with this dude named Diana. Yeah, it was a dude named Diana. So when he first joined for the first time, we were like, oh shit, it's a dude. I would think that it was actually, a female, named Diana. I mean, I know somebody that's named Diana, and I know a woman named Diana. But yeah, I mean, shit, we were shocked when the dude joined. We thought that it was gonna be a woman, but it was this, like 40-year-old man. It's like, damn. But anyway, the point I was gonna bring him up for is Diana was on there, and I asked him a question because again, he was arguing to try to prove that Satan was the God of the Old Testament. So we were having a back and forth conversation about it, and explain why we both disagree with that concept. And what happened was, here for me a second. Okay, what happened was I asked him, so you mean to tell me that the Israelites are Satan's chosen people? Because again, Satan's, according to him, the God of the Old Testament. So with that being said, you're saying that the Israelites are Satan's chosen people. And he said yes. Think about that for a second. Think about that. So the Israelites are Satan's chosen people. When I heard that, I had to ask him to repeat that statement again. I thought the first time I heard that, I thought I misheard him because that was so outlandish and so preposterous and so unbelievable that somebody could say something like that. I was like, excuse me, could you make that statement one more time for me? Because I really thought I misheard him when he said that. And then he said it again, right? Oh, well, the God of the Old Testament, that's Satan. So the Israelites are actually Satan's chosen people. It's like, wait a second, what the hell? Israelites are Satan's chosen people. I mean, this dude got to be this dude got to be on some type of like strong substances to make something like that into a sentence. Unbelievable. Okay, we got Locke in the comment section. What's up, man? But you just left a few comments a few minutes ago on my comment board, which I responded to. Let's see. Bear with me a second. Okay. Locke asked, "Can you show three verses that?" He says that I believe he meant to say that show. Christ said, "Keep Moses's law." And please don't use Matthew 5:17. Okay, cool, cool. I won't use the verse you said not to use, even though that clearly, would be a first to go to because it, is the nail on the coffin where you got to, keep it. But I can give you a couple other ones. And I would have to make this distinction real quick. What we see in the Bible when it refers to the law, it's referring to the law that God gave to Moses to give to the Israelites. So the whole notion that there's something called the law versus the law of Moses. The belief that those are two different things. That's a false ideology. Sometimes it can be referred to as the law of Moses. Other times it can be referred to as the law. It's the same thing. They just used a different terminology to describe it. Right? Like the law of Moses. That's what people in the churches go around and say, we don't have to follow the law of Moses anymore. Well, what do you mean by the law of Moses? Like do you even know how to clarify what that means. Because it's like, are you saying that Moses was the one who made those laws? And if you say no, well, how could that be the law of Moses then? Because where the laws come from? The laws came from God, right? God gave Moses the laws to give to the Israelites. So it's God's law. It's not laws that Moses came up with. Moses wrote them down and told them to the Israelites. Very simple. So to answer his question, right? Three places where Christ taught to keep the law of Moses. I can answer that question. But with that being said, and I would say the response I'd give is you're not going to see the word the law of Moses used because it's just called the law in the New Testament. Like I'll give a couple examples. What is that? John 14:15. Christ said, if you love me, keep the commandments. What commandments is he talking about? Talking about the law that God gave to Moses to give to the Israelites. All you have to do is go to the last page of the Bible, right? Revelation 22 and verse 14. It says, and I'm nearly paraphrasing the scriptures, right? It says, blessed are they that keep God's commandments. In other words, what is a commandment? A commandment is another word for a law or a edict or a statute, right? Statute. Same thing, different word used. Or I'll give another example. Just like there's a soul, and other texts say a spirit, right? A man has a soul. Other texts will say a man has a spirit. It's the exact same thing. A soul and a spirit are the exact same thing. They're just a different word being used to describe the exact same thing. So again, when we see the commandments of God or the law of God in the Bible, it means the exact same thing. They just picked a different word to use, when they wrote it down. But it means the exact same thing by its meaning. Right? A commandment is what? Say for an example, right? You might have had a king, just any random king, right? He might give an edict or a commandment to the population that lives in his kingdom. Right now, whether they use the word edict, commandment, a law, it all means the same thing, even though they might use a different word to describe it. Even though they might use a different pronunciation, they all mean the same thing. So again, we see all throughout the New Testament the notion that we got to keep God's commandments. And again, that not only Christ, we can go to other people's, writings such as, Paul's writings, Peter's writings, and we can see, or John's writing. Like I'll give you an example. One of my personal favorites, right? What is that? First John chapter 2, starting at 3. Right? Hereby we know God if we keep his commandments. He that says I know him, but keeps not his commandments, he's a liar. The truth is not in him. Right. So if you claim that you know God, but you're not keeping his commandments, aka his law, well then you don't know. It's very simple. So I think that answers your question. Bear with me a second. Yeah, I gotta catch my breath. Been speaking for 50 minutes without break. Okay, cool, cool. I'll let you on for a couple minutes. I'll let you on for a couple minutes. But I do want to ask you this. I do want to ask you this. I'll let you on for a handful of minutes. We can have a chat. But here's what I want to know. Right here, here's my main question for you, because you sparked my curiosity over the past couple of days with some of your comments that you put up in my comment board, right? So I'm just very curious as to your response to a couple of these. You made a statement and were saying, that I need to repent and turn to Christ, is what you said. Right? Got to repent and turn to Christ. So I got to ask, with that statement being said, what exactly are you saying I should repent from? And if you're saying I should come to Christ, it's like, well, am I not on here teaching people about Christ? So how could I come to Christ, repent and turn to Christ, if I'm on here teaching people about Christ? So I don't know how that makes sense. And then another thing you said was that, I should flee away, or in other words, turn away from these Hebrew Israelite camps. So my question would be, well, to who or what do you propose that I should go to? But like, who on YouTube should I listen to besides, some of these camps that I, learned some of the scriptures from? But like, and that's a real question. Like who else on YouTube would you say is teaching the Bible that I should, listen to get some knowledge about the scriptures? That's a question for you. I'll let you on for like 20 minutes if you want to come on for a chat. Not going for too long tonight, but if you want to come on for like 20 minutes, and that's cool. Bear with me for a moment. All right, let's see. Oh, there was another dude that wanted to come on my show for a chat. I forget this cat's name. No, but he was on there. And he was trying to, um, say something like, God's elect are saved before the tribulation or something like that. So he wanted to come on and have a dialogue about that. Which I mean, we always go over, subjects like that. I mean, all you really need is one or two verses on that. The Bible's very clear that, God's elect are saved after the tribulation. Christ returns after the tribulation, and the elect are taken away. Or in other words, people use the word rapture, which rapture can be used because the term just means to take away or to gather. And we see that word used in the Bible, right? To gather together his elect. So again, the word rapture, by its meaning, it can apply. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know where you're at, Luck, but if you want to come on, man, there's a link in the chat for you. We'll give him a few minutes. I see Perry's on doing a live stream right now. You know what boggles my mind, man, is how is it that this dude, it gets like, what is it? Sometimes like triple the amount of people watching him live than, the amount that, say for example, I myself, or Jay, Sacramento Truth Movement, he gets like double or triple the amount of people, listening to him when he does his show. You know why that is though? Because people like what he's saying, right? People, flock to these false pastors. That's why, these 501c3, Christian churches do so well, because, vast majority of the time, they're teaching that prosperity doctrine, right? They're teaching that John 3:16, Jesus loves everybody doctrine, right? That God wants you to prosper. That, the way that you know that you've been closer to God, or you're getting closer to God, is by you, gaining in wealth, right? If you're becoming richer, oh, well, see, well, that's God, dealing with you. God is increasing you. If you're, gaining in wealth, that's the doctrine that they're out there teaching to people, man. That's why they're getting all of these, followers worldwide, because people want to tune in to hear that. People want to hear, that doctrine, right? That, don't worry about what you do. God loves you no matter what you do, right? No matter what type of lifestyle you live, God loves you. Hell, and even some of these churches, like I was walking downtown. I mentioned this before, but I can say it again. That I was walking downtown, and you had some of these churches flying that rainbow flag outside their church, right? And they were to welcome them. They were, giving an open welcome to these, these rainbow people. You know what I'm talking about. I got to use code language on this platform. But they were inviting these rainbows into their churches with wide open arms. And what were they going to tell them in there? Take a guess. What were they going to tell these rainbows when they go to the church? They're going to teach them what they want to hear, right? They're going to, tell them about, Christ loves you, right? God and Jesus, they love you, right? Just for who you are. And, they might, tell their life stories and just pick one or two Bible verses to read. They won't say nothing about, the fact that this person, sitting in their church is living a sinful lifestyle that is punishable by death in the Holy Bible. They won't mention that at all. Like not even try to, nudge the person to, even question their ways of life. And why is that? Because if you offend these people, you're going to get, for one, you're going to lose your, support that you're getting by way of, these funds that people are giving your church. And two, you're going to offend the community. And that's how, you get people to stop going to your church. Therefore, that's how you lose your profit. Right. And that's what a vast majority of these churches are for. It's for their own profit. I can't say that about all of them, to be fair, but a lot of them are like that. Hey, what's up, Tammy? How's it going? Yeah, I mean, Perry, realistically speaking, I mean, Perry can run his own church, right? He's the top teacher. You have Apostle Tim as his self-appointed apostle sidekick. And then he has like 10 devoted followers. And then other people that are on the fence that listen to him. So, I mean, it's like, shit, that guy could run his own church, his own doctrine, and call it Perryism. And you have this other dude out there. He calls himself the real preacher. But we all know this cat was Dogs, right? This dude Dogs I debated, months back. He changed his name to the real preacher. And this dude is literally teaching the exact same doctrine that Perry is. But he doesn't like Perry, right? So he don't like Perry, but he literally teaches the exact same thing. Like I'm not even joking around. You can literally ask him. He says it's the exact same thing. He just doesn't like the preacher, right? So they're both teaching the exact identical doctrine. They just don't like each other. So it shows you that Dogs, right, aka the real preacher, he got put into a trick bag, man. Dude thinks that he can't sin, right? It's impossible for him to sin. No, I got a question for him then, right? That's another thing about these dudes is they say it's impossible for a believer to commit a sin, but that's not true. Like I'll give you one example. I found this verse in oh, give me a second. What is this verse? I believe it's what is that? First John 5 verse 16, right? First John 5:16. I'm nearly paraphrasing, but it says if you see your brother commit a sin not worthy of death, you're supposed to pray for him. But if you see your brother commit a sin that is worthy of death, you're not supposed to. But the point is, if it's saying that you see your brother commit a sin, you're supposed to pray for him. Wait a second. How can you have how can your brother, right, your brother in the Lord, how can your brother commit a sin that believes on Christ if a believer on Christ cannot commit a sin? So again, they teach it's impossible for a believer on Christ to commit a sin according to their doctrine. But I just quoted that verse, right? First John 5:16, right? If you see your brother commit a sin that's not worthy of death, you're supposed to pray for him. So it's like, well, how the hell can your brother, a believer in the Lord, right? Because that's what a brother is. You call a fellow believer on the Lord your brother, right? So how is it that you could have a believer on the Lord commit a sin if, according to the preacher, it's impossible for a believer on Christ to commit sin? I mean, so that verse right there, that's what you call spiritual knockout. I mean, somebody called the ambulance because that was just that's a body bag, as Cesariak would say. That's a knockout right there. Tammy said, doing good, sitting around surfing the web. Hey, that's what you got to do time to time. damn, there's never a dull moment. Shit, I have like four accounts that are maxed out on their watch later. For those that don't know, in your watch later list on YouTube, the max you can have is 5,000 videos. And your like list as well, you can have like 5,000 videos, and then that's max. You can't do any more, over that number. So I have literally four accounts that are maxed at 5,000 videos in the watch later. And I still have people sending me videos that want me to check out. So I got to go through that and, take some out and, watch from time to time. That's what I've done. I'd say, damn, I watch through my watch later list. I probably watch a few hundred videos every month, at least 200, if not more, from my watch later list. But then it gets filled up within 2 days again, right? So you can never, hit a bottom to it seems. Yeah, 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 yeah. As I said, man, these dudes on YouTube, a lot of these guys going around teaching the Bible are teaching it incorrectly. There's only a handful of people that I've seen over the years that are actually teaching the Bible correct. And then I'll say this, some people get some things right about the Bible, but then they go off on a few other topics. Right? Some people might say something that's right, but then they'll go off on something else. Like me and mine and Reg joke around about, how we have something called a free strike rule, right? We might listen to somebody like I'll give an example, like Russian vids. I used to watch all of Russian vids videos, um, back in the day. We're talking like I want to say like 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago. I used to watch all of the videos that, RB Truth, aka Russian vids, which you should know who that is. He's like, a flat earth truther on YouTube. But as I said, I used to watch all of his videos, but then I stopped. I still time to time watch a couple of them, but I do it with caution because I know he's going off on a few things. Like say for an example, he'll be on there telling you that, all of these UFOs are either, fallen angels or, Project Bluebeam, right? There are no real UFOs. It's all, government propaganda to deceive the masses or demons. So shit, that's strike one, right? He's off on that. Then he's off on, he doesn't believe that, the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans are the real Israelites of the Bible. He doesn't believe that. So that's strike two. Then strike three is they believe that hell is actually a place, under the earth where people go when they die. So that's strike three, right? Hey, three strikes and you're out. So we watch these people. Sometimes we might check on them and see what they're, up to, what they're talking about. We got to watch with caution because, they're clearly going off on the things that are on there talking about. As I said, some of it can be true, but then other parts are wrong. Like I'll give an example. Even with Drake, right, aka the Southern Israelite, yeah, there's a few things that me and him might agree on, but then there's a lot we disagree on. He still believes that those people in the land of Israel are the real Israelites today, right? The not what is it, 1948ers? That those are the true Israelites returned to their land. He really believes that. So that's a strong point of contention. Then the dude's on there saying that there's no such thing as a human soul. That's a point of contention because the Bible clearly teaches that we all have a soul. So that's a strong point of contention there. Then he says that Babylon is I believe he says it's the Vatican if I'm not mistaken. I believe he says it's the Vatican. So that's another strong point of contention. So that dude's totally going on. He has a couple of things that are right. He does have a few things he teaches that are correct about the Bible, but that's, one here and far in between. So for the vast majority of the, the the videos he makes, I recommend staying, away from it. Don't even pay attention to it. Yo, Locke, I don't know where you went, man. I put a link. I put two links in the chat for you like 20 minutes ago, man. I'm not sure where you're at. I told you if you want to jump on for 20 minutes, that's cool, but I don't know where. I don't know where Locke went. But everyone's seen. I put the link in the comment section for him. No, so he can't be on there saying, "Oh, well, ETT's running, ETT's running." Say, no, I put the link out for you. I said, I'll let you on for 20 minutes so we can have a conversation. Let's see. Oh, and then another thing I want to talk about is that I was listening to what's his channel, Catherine, right? Catherine Wiley. What she does like Bible videos and Bible streams, but they believe that the New Testament is fake, right? They believe that Christ was a false Messiah and that the New Testament is fake, so they do streams about, the contradictions in the, in the Bible and whatnot, but I went on with them a couple times, to have a good conversation. And they were relatively friendly with me. Well, at least that is for the first couple of times I went on there. They don't like me now for some reason. I'm not sure why though, because I'm always very polite when I go on there. Even though we have different views about the Bible, I still perceive that I'm very polite when I go onto their platform to have a conversation. So here it is. This is what I don't understand. They challenge me to come onto their stream because they want to question me on a couple things that I teach. So I was like, okay, cool. I can come on. I can't do it tonight, but I can come on another day and we can have a conversation. And they were like, oh, okay, we'll come back. Then, the next day, which I tell them I can't come on today, but maybe a few days I can come on. But here it is, since you're having a disagreement with me, then they decide to block me from the comment section. It's like, wait a second, what the hell didn't you guys just issue out a challenge to me that you wanted me to come onto your stream and have a conversation about a couple topics that we might disagree on? Didn't you guys just invite me onto your stream to have a chat and now you block me? I mean, that's not very logical. Though it should be noted that like she's probably she got to be in her 60s, right? She got to be in her 60s. At least I would think so. Based on some of the statements she's made in her streams. Hey, what's on? Excuse me. What's up? What's up, man? What's up? What's this cat, Jill? Yeah, what's up, Jill? How's it going, man? Yeah, me and Jill, we ran into each other a couple days ago, actually. We ran into each other over on I believe it was Gur's channel, right? This dude named Gur, right? Gur streams, and he's basically like an atheist, right? So me and him had a couple conversations before in the past. I mean, even though we both disagree as far as again, he's an atheist, I'm a believer on Christ. So even though we have that difference, he's still very friendly and respectable. With me when he has me on his show. And I've had a couple good conversations on his platform before. I'll give him credit. But the other day I was on for a couple minutes and Jill joined. We didn't have, yeah, Germania. Yeah, yeah, you know who I'm talking about. We didn't really get to exchange much, as far as conversation wise. But, a couple words, back and forth. Right. We were friendly and respectable, being Jill. No, but we were on having the conversation, me and somebody else. We were talking about the whole, dinosaur, um, conversation. There are people going around, saying that those are all fake and whatnot. Which again, I wanted to comment on this. It's absolutely ridiculous. Some of the nonsense that these people are doing, right? Going around saying everything on TV is fake. Everything on TV is fake. That's not true. Now, are there some things on TV that are staged? Yes. Are there some things that you see on TV that are made up? And when I say TV, obviously, movies, all of that is for your entertainment, of course. But I'm talking about like, the news media, right? Because that's what's in question, right? Not your entertainment, watch a movie or TV show. We're talking about like the news media, right? These guys are on there saying all of that is fake, all of that's not real. And that's clearly not true. Again, is some of that stage? Possibly, but it's not as much as these guys think. Like I'd say it's very little in number as far as what they're, quote unquote faking. Very, very few. Like I'll give you a couple examples. Like 8 months ago, I was in downtown Easton, the same city that I challenged a preacher to debate me live in, which, for the record, he chickened out like a coward and wouldn't debate me, even though he was 1 hour away in Philadelphia. When I found out he was in Philadelphia, I told him, hey, look, Perry, I'm over here downtown Easton. Come down. Let's have a debate. We can do it in real life. We can do it in real life, a friendly conversation, and upload it to YouTube. Just give me the day, give me the time, I'll be there. Downtown Easton, just 1 hour from Philadelphia. And that's when he was doing his, street teaching around America, a few months back. No, so I issued that challenge to him. Hey, look, man, you're only an hour away. Why don't you stop by? Let's have a real life debate in real life. I mean, shit, the people who listen to you and people listen to me, they love to watch that conversation. Shit, I sure know I'd like to have that conversation. But he chickened out. He didn't want to do it. But anyway, going back to the story, right? I was in downtown Easton, the same place where I challenged a preacher, which he backed down. Um, but I was there for like a fireworks show, right? So what happened was down the block, which is literally like, I want to say 700 feet from where I was walking, right? Like if we would have turned a corner and turned another corner, we would have been right where this happened. There was apparently, according to the story, there were, two guys there that were in an argument, right? They were in like a gang or something, so the one guy shot the other guy, right? And it, it would be hard to tell because it was a fireworks show. This was back, for the 4th of July, right? So, somebody got shot, and every way we knew, because we couldn't tell the difference between, the gunshot and the fireworks because the fireworks were being shot off at that time. So I certainly didn't hear, no gunshot because it sounded like just like the fireworks. So the only way we knew something happened is you saw all these, hundreds of people starting, to run. So I stopped the guy and asked, well, what the hell's everybody running from? You know, when we first saw people, we were like, oh shit, something must have happened, but then I stopped the guy who was running and asked him, hey man, what's everyone running from? And he was like, oh shit, man, there's some type of, perceive that there was some type of gun that, fired. It was like, oh shit, so everybody started running, made it back to the cars and everybody drove away, right? And it turns out later, guess what? Later that night, it was on the news that just up the block from where I was walking, somebody got shot. And guess what? It was on the news. So was that fake too because it was on the news? Of course not. Of course that's not fake, even though it was on the news. So again, all these guys going around saying all the news, all that's fake. I mean, well, I just gave an example of a event that I was at. I was there when it happened and it was on the news. But somehow that must be fake too. But let me give you another example. Um, this is something that happened recently. What happened was, let's see if I can even remember the story correctly. What basically, in a nutshell, what happened was somebody that my mom works at, right? Um, somebody that a friend of her boss, right? A friend of her boss. He got murdered, right? A friend of her boss got murdered when he was sitting in a parking lot, right? And guess what? It was on the news, right? Somebody went up to his car and shot him to death, right? We knew the guy who this his his friend was the person that got killed, right? So we knew this guy who was telling us the story about what happened earlier that day. And then later at night, it was on the news. So is that some type of like conspiracy too? Even though we know the person who had a connection with this individual that lost his life, and even though it was on the news, so is that somehow all now fake as well? I mean, come on, these guys are ridiculous. Everything is on the news is all fake. I mean, you got to be a dumbass to say something like that. And again, I like, a few conspiracies here or there, just like the next man. Shit, I believe the earth is flat, but, even with saying that, it's like, damn, even I know, that not everything is some type of like stage event. Obviously, there's real events in the world that take place. Obviously. Anybody that doesn't accept that, well, they're just not living in real life. It's just that simple. Are there events that are staged? Of course. Are there events that really happen? Of course. It's very simple. It's nothing deep or complex at all to it. Very easy concept to understand. So again, it just, it pisses me off sometimes when I hear people make these statements on these videos where they're like, oh, you can't trust nothing on social media, or you can't trust nothing that's on the news, right? All of that's, a conspiracy. It's like, well, what about the events I listed? The one shooting, which I was there when it happened. That was on the news. So are they lying about that too? Of course not. So again, it just, it boggles my mind sometimes the nonsense that some of these people are on here saying. It's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Some of the nonsense that these people are on the internet saying that. Let's see. Say it again. I don't know where the hell Locke went. I gave him the invite to come on, and maybe he had some internet problems. I don't know, but that was like half an hour ago. But then guess what? If I end this, say for example, if I end the stream in 3 minutes, he'll leave a comment and say, "Well, see, you ran from me. You ran from me because you didn't let me on the chat." It's like, I gave you literally almost 40 minutes now to click the link. There's free links in the chat for you. Click the link. Come on, let's have a chat. I'll give you 20 minutes. Give me a second. Man. So it's just, it's just crazy, man. Crazy some of the nonsense, these people are on the internet talking about. Which I won't go for much longer. I won't go for much longer. I just wanted to come on for like an hour, hour and a half, tonight. Yeah, just for a little fun. It's always good, always got people, stopping by, in the comment section. I just wanted to vent on a couple topics, right? Do a little rant, or as they call it, to vent, right? To vent off on a couple of these, topics and, faults that I had. Yeah, yeah, I've heard about that. I've heard about that, Tim. Well, I might close up the show in a minute or two. I might close up the show. Um, Lock, man. I mean, just catch me the next time I'm live. Then, man, if you want to come on, I'll bring you on. I gave you the chance tonight. Maybe you had a problem with your connection. I'm not sure, but whatever the case is, you can catch me next time, or we'll bring you on for a chat. That's cool. That's cool. Um, let's see. All right. Well, I think I'll end the video off with that. Um, if anybody made it to the end of the video watching after stream, go ahead and put hashtag Jill in the comment section. We'll give him a little shout out, or I should say, just as a little inside joke. If anybody made it to the end, put hashtag Jill, and I'll say shalom.